I have a little bit of New World news for you guys here. In this one, we have New World Update 2.0.2, and there's actually some really big changes coming to the game with this update. There's some performance fixes, there's some combat changes, and a whole lot more. So let's jump in here and take a look. So if you're watching this video, Update 2.0.2 is actually already live, and with this update comes some really big performance changes that could impact your loading time to your game. So if you're experiencing some long loading times, don't worry, that is intended. So it says we have implemented a performance change to the way shaders are loaded on the game client. This change is expected to enhance the overall gameplay experience by reducing instances of frame hitching and stuttering. However, it's important to note that there will be a noticeable impact on the game's boot up time as a trade-off. They go on to say that obviously this is going to depend on your hardware, if you have an SSD or an HDD. And then it also says that during this process, your client will remain on the initial New World logo screen for up to a minute as it front loads necessary assets. So if you're anything like me, I'm very impatient at times, and if you are sitting there at a minute-long load screen, you might think something's wrong. Rest assured, nothing is wrong. It is intended. They are trying to make performance changes to the game. So don't just shut down your game and try to restart it. Just be patient and let it load. It also says they fixed a number of server crashes that disconnected players with a lag detected error. So as we all know, performance problems have been a big issue in New World, especially since Season 2 hit. So hopefully this is the first step in a whole lot of performance issues that the game is going to receive, because we know that the game desperately needs it. We have needed this for a very long time, so I'm excited to see that they are working on these, and I really hope that they continue to do so into the future. Next, we have some really big combat changes coming in. In the latest Forged in Eternum video, Dave Farfai talked about some of these changes, but there were a couple here that kind of caught me off guard. I also did not expect these to come in with this particular patch. I thought it was going to be a little while before we seen some of these come into the game, but here they are nonetheless. They fixed an issue that allowed players to end the recovery of the blunderbuss ability Splitting Grenade early. Now, I haven't been playing the blunderbuss a whole lot recently, but I know Dave mentioned that there was a problem with some so-called experts using the blunderbuss that were able to do a little bit more damage than intended. To me, this looks like the fix for that, because this seems like an animation cancel for that particular ability, which would of course allow players to go from Splitting Grenade into another ability a whole lot faster, which would set up a combo a whole lot quicker and allow you to blow people up versus not being able to animation cancel that ability. So I would assume that's what he was talking about. I think this is probably the fix that's addressing that, but again, I'm not 100% sure because I have not been playing the blunderbuss a whole heck of a lot. But if you guys have, you can confirm that down in the comments below. I'd greatly appreciate it. They also increased the amount of health players gain from the first 150 levels of Constitution attribute points. So I've heard them mention a few times they wanted to increase the time to kill in New World, and this looks like one of the steps taken in order to do that. It looks like people are going to be a little bit more tankier, taking 150 levels or 150 points of Constitution, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this plays out in combat, both in PvE and PvP. This one caught me off guard. I'm not sure if I just didn't hear Dave talk about this in the balance of power, or it just wasn't mentioned and it was thrown in here. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, here it is. This is a pretty big change coming into combat. And then here is another really big one. They're swapping the 150 dex and 300 dex attribute threshold bonuses with each other. This is obviously going to switch up a whole lot of builds, especially some split stat builds. It's going to force you to put Hardy on your ring if you want the additional stamina, the additional dodge, and this is a very interesting change coming in. I would love to know what you guys think about this attribute switch up. What do you think? Do you think this is the right move? Do you think it's not the right move? Is it going to scuff up your build? What do you think about this one in particular? Because this is a very interesting one in my opinion. They are also removing the ability for the Detonate Heart Rune to deal critical damage. That Heart Rune has reigned supreme as the damage dealing Heart Rune for a very long time, and they have addressed that by removing the ability for it to crit. They have talked about this for a while, so that was no surprise to see this one come in the patch notes. They're also nerfing the spear a little bit. They're reducing the strength of the spear's Cyclone slow effect from 50% to 30%. As I'm sure all of you have seen, Cyclone has made a big return into the meta because they buffed the damage by like 35% on that ability. Well, now they realize that they buffed it maybe a little bit too much, so they're coming in and trying to make some changes to nerf this just a little bit. They didn't nerf the damage, but they are nerfing some of the other things. They're nerfing the slow effect from 50% to 30%, and they are also limiting the number of targets that can be affected by the spear's leeching Cyclone perk in a single use to 3. I think this is perfectly fine because if you're in big clumps and you use leeching Cyclone, you would literally heal all the way back up to full. It was quite strong, so now they are nerfing that a little bit as well. They also reworked the sword's Achilles heel passive to instead be a rend. So prior to this, the Achilles heel passive applied a slow. So the final attack in your light attack chain inflicted a slow for 2 seconds. Well, now it looks like the final attack in your light attack chain is now going to inflict a rend. I found this to be pretty interesting because there is also another passive in the sword tree called Opportunist, and this says that abilities deal 10% more damage to slowed foes. It's a passive that I took every single time because that paired with the Achilles heel worked out pretty well, but now the Achilles heel is going to be a rend, so I'm not so sure how that's going to work out damage wise or DPS wise. We're gonna have to wait and see, but it will be interesting to jump in here and test that passive. They also made a change to the Elite Sandworm trial, and I for one am incredibly happy they made this change. We have had the Sandworm on farm for quite a while now, but whenever we were initially doing the Sandworm and trying to get past this, a lot of people were dying there at the very end, and then they would not get credit for the Sandworm. Well, now whenever you die, you will receive rewards upon completion. So if some of you guys have never done the Sandworm before and you're going in there for the first time and you happen to die during the end or during the middle, or happen to just have some bad luck in the beginning and die but your team actually completes it, I feel like you should still receive rewards for completing it if your team's able to take him down. So now you can do that, and I think that is a really good change because that was quite annoying to a lot of people. Then we have some economy progression and gear changes coming in. They fixed an issue that made legendary fish far easier to catch than intended, so everyone was just fishing up legendaries like crazy. So I'm glad that they're fixing this because fishing was just kind of scuffed. Although it was fun to pull up a ton of legendary fish, I'm sure that just would throw off all the economy surrounding fishing, so this is probably a good change. They introduced hotkeys for gear set storage. This is quite nice. You can now specify hotkeys that will swap your current loadout to a specific gear set storage loadout. That's pretty amazing because now whenever you're running expeditions, you can just hotkey instead of pressing tab and going into the gear set storage and trying to find the particular gear set you're looking for and then switch it over. I personally really like they added this little quality of life thing into the game. They fixed an issue that made the artisan fishing pole unusable. Didn't know that was a thing, but that's fixed if you're trying to use the artisan fishing pole. And then they have some changes coming into the season pass. They're fixing an issue that caused the earn PvP XP season activity to display incorrect text. They're fixing an issue that caused season XP rewarded from crafting gypsum cast to not scale correctly when crafting multiple casts at once. They fixed an issue that prevented players who did not earn a gear set slot to the season 1 pass from purchasing it through the store. And then they fixed the issue caused the journey task Call of the Ancients to not properly record song completion. I am almost certain they've tried to fix these two problems before, and apparently there's another problem that's cropped up with these. I have no idea what that is, but I'm pretty sure they tried to fix these once before, but nonetheless, hopefully they're fixed now. Then we have some changes coming into the season trial. I personally have not ran the season trial in a really good while, but here's some changes coming in if you're still enjoying that piece of content. They fixed an issue that caused the Horde Master boss to spawn less monsters than intended, so maybe now phase 4 with the Horde Master will be a little bit harder. It sounds like he's going to spawn in a few more adds. They fixed an issue that caused a large gray plane to be visible within the arena space, and they fixed an issue that caused long load times for some seasonal content. Great fix, because we all know, again, performance has been a problem, so it sounds like they're addressing some things there as well. They're also addressing some quests. So during the Break Some Eggs quest, it's now no longer necessary to travel to the Neapolis, as the Hatchery Soul trial immediately unlocks after applying oil. Obviously, if you've already finished this quest line, this doesn't apply to you. Just seems like a nice little quality of life thing that they're throwing in there. They reduced enemy health and damage in the Break Some Eggs Soul trial. So I'm not sure if a lot of people were having a problem clearing that boss or what the issue was, but they're making that boss a little bit easier. The NPC spawned guy no longer spawns the world. Have absolutely no idea what that is. I've never seen spawned guy in the world ever. I wish I would have. It sounds funny, but I didn't see him. But they no longer is there. And then they removed lingering missions from Old First Light, as that zone is no longer accessible due to the Angry Earth. So if you don't know, First Light is going to be an Angry Earth zone moving forward. They've already kind of hinted at that with the story and all of the things that they've already told us. So First Light is turning into an Angry Earth zone, but those missions are removed now. They were lingering missions and they were just cleaning those things up. Then we have some small changes coming into OPR and Arena. So they're increasing the amount of personal score points gained from contesting outpost control points by 40% in OPR. And then for arenas, the Brimstone Sands Arena has been activated once again as a part of the 2-week rotation. It will remain active until 8/15/23, when the original Soul Ward's Proving Ground will be again activated. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I really wish there was a better way for them to rotate these arenas. I personally would like to see the arenas rotate every 10 minutes or something, or maybe every hour, something, I don't know, but having this in the rotation 2 weeks at a time is kind of a bummer, because I really enjoy playing the new arena, and it'd be nice to have a mixture between the new and the old to keep arenas a little bit fresh. But it is what it is. We have 2-week rotations right now. Maybe at some point in the future we'll get something a little bit better. But what do you guys think about that? Do you like the 2-week rotation? Would you like to see them rotate out a little bit sooner? Would you like some other solution to come in for arenas? I'd love to know what you guys think about that particular subject. And then lastly, we have some UX UI changes. They're fixing an issue where some of the pattern items cannot be crafted even though you have the materials. They fixed a rare issue that prevented players from accessing their season journey and activities. They fixed a texture loading issue that caused a chat window to become white. They fixed an issue that caused chat channel tooltips to be incorrect. And they fixed an issue that made localized text on faction boards incorrect when OP PvP missions were available. That's going to do it for New World Update 2.0.2. There are some really big changes coming into the game, and again, that patch is currently live. What do you guys think about all these changes coming into the game? You happy to see some performance changes coming in? Because I know I sure am, and I hope they continue to work on that on into the future because the game desperately needs those. And the combat changes, what do you think about those? There's some very interesting ones coming in, especially the health changes and the dexterity attribute change. Both of those could shake things up quite a lot, and I'm interested to know what you guys have to say about them. But that's going to do it for this one, boys and girls. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you enjoy New World content, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate that as well. And of course, you can check us out on twitch.tv/BDLG. I stream there on Mondays. Pretty long streams on Monday, starting at 8 a.m. CST. We stream again on Friday with some fairly long streams on Friday, and then we stream again over the weekend. That's it for this one. Thank you guys again. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.